up, guys? Welcome back to the ABNF Podcast. We have a special guest today, Nick. Nick, if you want to go ahead and introduce who our guest is this week.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my homie, KJ Redfield, one of my college basketball teammates for a season at Dominican University. And we are very glad to have him on the show. He's a big basketball fan, very knowledgeable. So KJ, welcome to the All Ball No Foul podcast, man.
Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you guys having me on, man. So, I love what you guys are doing, man. It's so cool. It's good to see Nick doing something in the basketball realm, get into podcasting. I know you've had some friends talk about podcasting for a while and they haven't done anything about it, and you're doing it, so it's pretty dope to see, man. Congrats to you both.
Appreciate it, man. And KJ, you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself then before we start?
Yeah, I play ball. I used to play with Nick at Dominican. We played for a year. Really good guy. From Los Angeles, grew up in LA, played basketball out there for a while. Had my fair share of obstacles. I went JUCO, played ball, JUCO in Michigan. Luckily, Dominican found me, so I was able to finish out my career playing basketball for college. I used to practice with the Chicago Sky my year after I finished playing. That was a cool experience. Practicing with the team after their championship. So they still had Candace, Sloot. It was fun. It was fun, man. But yeah, that's about it, dude. My dad played ball, Michigan State, graduated in 92, played professionally overseas, quick stint in the league, I think, but yeah, man. So I've been around ball my whole life. So I like to think I know a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're probably still better than about 90% of the people on TV today. So let's be honest, bro. They're just letting anybody come on TV and just giving some bullshit take.
Man.
So
yeah, ain't lying.
So that's awesome, KJ. Real quick, if you had to play Nick on a one-on-one, who's winning?
Oh, me.
I'm not gonna lie, I have not touched a rock in about 8 months, so that'd be very rusty. You're gonna have to give me like 40 minutes of just dynamic warm-ups alone for me to get back out there.
All the time Nick needs, bro. Prime against prime me.
Okay.
All
hey,
right.
Of course you're gonna pick yourself at the end of the day. That's just you gotta have that confidence. No, I pick myself. I pick myself.
No way, dude. No.
I would.
Not happening.
All seriousness though, guys, I think that there's been a lot that's been happening actually since the Nuggets won the championship just 2 weeks ago. So wanted to go a little bit into that, and we can dive right into the draft because the draft was just recently. I know that we can talk a little bit about the trades, but Nick, if you want to start us off with the first topic with the NBA draft, our thoughts, reactions, what are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first 3 picks went as expected. We'll see if the Hornets ended up picking the right player. Miller, they just went by the fit instead of maybe the best overall player. That might be a mistake. Like, look at what the Warriors did a couple of years ago. They picked James Wiseman. They could have had LaMelo, even though they already had Steph and Clay. Like, where would LaMelo would have played? But, they went with the big because they needed a big. They got Wiseman, and that did not pan out. So hopefully for Charlotte, Michael Jordan's last selection as the owner of the Hornets, hopefully he didn't screw that one up, because in my opinion, I think Scoot Henderson's gonna be the better overall talent. He's just a generational talent, but he could do with the rock. Very athletic. He's got that Russell Westbrook in him, and he's a better jump shooter. He's not the greatest jump shooter in the world, but when you're young, you have a lot of time to work on it. And he's been working a lot in the offseason. There's videos with him and Steph Curry already. So he's already working out with Steph Curry. So I think his jump shot's gonna be on point going into the league, and he's going to learn a lot from Dame Lillard if he stays in Portland. But it was very interesting. There was a lot of trades, like Dallas moved down. They got some young pieces. I feel like they made the right moves of trading and stuff. But I think Amani Bates went too low. I think a lot of people forgot about him because he was one of the top ranked high school prospects, and then he had the drama that happened, got in trouble off the court with Memphis and stuff, was getting a lot of tick with Penny Hardaway. So he ends up going to a school that didn't win a lot of games, but he played really, really well. And people forget that this man dropped 30 on Michigan in the second game of the season in college basketball. I think Emoni Bates is going to be a fantastic pro. I think he's in a great situation with a great team already in Cleveland. They needed that small forward, and he's got that Brandon Ingramish in him. And I think he's going to be really good in the league. He's going to be nice.
KJ, what do you think about that? How did you feel about the draft?
Yeah, I think it went as expected. Whitmore fell a little low for me. I thought he would have been gone sooner, but it's the draft. Somebody always falls. I do agree with Nick. Emoni Bates was a surprise to me how low he fell. Second round, I was like, okay, second round is whatever. I'm going to bed. So I woke up to Emoni Bates being drafted in the second round, going to Cleveland, I believe. And yeah, I woke up and I was like, oh, they got a steal. I would have never thought he would drop that low. I know he had some issues, like off the court that kind of forced him to leave Memphis. And it was some other internal stuff, I believe Penny was saying with the seniors on the squad having to share the ball with who was over there, Jalen Duren and Emoni. There was some issues with that, and I know, like I said, Emoni has some issues off the court, so he had to transfer. Went to Eastern Michigan and was doing his thing out there. But under the radar, Eastern Michigan, small school, not getting too much publicity in the MAC. So yeah, I thought Emoni was still. I think we were discussing about the French players in the draft that were drafted. A lot of talent coming internationally now with Wemby and Bilal. So I'm excited to see what they do, man. But overall, I think it was a good draft. Expected how it was supposed to be. Couple fall, couple a little higher than expected, but that's every draft night. So yeah,
that's true. That is very true. And I think one of the things that a lot of people were talking before the draft was, will the Blazers trade that third pick? Because I know that Scoot Henderson and Damian Lillard were definitely two big talking points for draft night. And right before the draft started, we heard, they're not going to trade the pick. And I feel like that started a whole different conversation now, because obviously we know that Scoot Henderson is one of the best prospects from the draft. We knew that he was going to go top 3. I know that there were some fans in Charlotte that were pretty upset that they went with Brandon Miller over him, which I was okay with them taking Brandon Miller, but I understand that you have to take Scoot. So I don't know for you guys, because I didn't follow the college ball as much, so I don't know too much about some of the guys that were drafted this year. But I mean, for both of you, do you feel like Scoot Henderson should have gone second, or do you feel like third was understandable because LaMelo is your point guard?
Nick, let me get this off my chest, bro.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel the whole year it was 1 and 2, Wemby and Scoot. I get the whole Charlotte's drafting for fit, Brandon Miller being a non-ball dominant forward as essentially is a good fit with LaMelo because Scoot handles the ball more. But I feel like that wasn't even a question until the whole Brandon Miller case, where he does this dumb stuff and then gets away with the dumb stuff. First game back, he drops 30. Now it's all of a sudden, this guy has it. He can play under pressure. He can blah, 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 blah. Well, why is he playing under pressure? What is the pressure? So I just feel like, I don't know, man. I just feel like that whole thing was obviously it helped Brandon in terms of shooting up his draft stock, but he wasn't even top 3, I don't believe. He was like 5.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was like 5. So I don't know, man. I'm excited to see what Brandon does in the league with Charlotte. It's a better fit for him to be there, obviously, but I just think they dropped the ball with that one.
Yeah. The thing that Miller is better than Scoot in is obviously the perimeter game. Miller can shoot the lights out.
Yeah,
and
he's got that.
Really he's got that length too. Once he starts working on that mid-range ISO game, he could be like another Brandon Ingram type of player. He could be really nice in the league, But I agree with KJ all the way. I think Scoot honestly, he might end up being the best player in this draft. Now we got to say, obviously, Wemby, he was gonna go number one regardless. When you got that talent as a 7'5", could put it on the deck like a guard. He's going off doing ball handoffs, shooting it, and he's 7'5". Like how are you gonna be able to guard this man? Now I am a little concerned when he says that he doesn't worry about putting on weight, doesn't want to really, feels like he doesn't need to work on and stuff. I think eventually you're gonna need to put some muscle on. I mean, look at Giannis. Look how skinny Giannis was when he got in the league. Look at him now. Guy's a freight train, man. You see his workout videos. That man's insane now.
Oh, dude.
So but Wemby, like, he's by far the most talented player in this draft. It's kind of like how when Zion got picked number one, like he was by far the most talented player, but like Ja was that dude. Right. I think that it just reminds me of that. Like Scoot Henderson is that dude.
I think any other year, if Wemby had not declared for the draft, Scoot would have gone one. So I don't think there's an argument there on that one. I just got to ask though too, because I feel like with Wemby, so we've been talking about, for I think the last 10, 15 years, this is the best draft prospect since LeBron James. Do we feel like Wemby has that ability to become like one of the new faces of the league in the next 5 to 10 years? Is he going to actually live up to the expectations that we're putting upon him already at the age of 19?
I think it's honestly when you're putting all this hype on a 19-year-old like that, I think it's always unfair for the kid because now like you're putting so much pressure on him, to succeed. Because if he ends up just being like a 6-time All-Star or something, now people are gonna say he's a bust now, just because they've been comparing him to LeBron and all this kind of stuff, which is very unfair to him. But I'll tell you what, he's gonna get coached by one of the greatest coaches ever, San Antonio. Look at the last number one picks that San Antonio's had in their franchise. They had David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
That's facts.
And obviously he's going to be learning from obviously all the international greats too. Tony Parker, he idolized Tony Parker. Manu Ginobili was another one, Argentina and stuff. And, he's going in the perfect situation. And they got a lot of young talent on that team in San Antonio. Trey Jones is nice. Keldon Johnson is improving every single year. He's very, very good. They got Vassell. They got a lot of young talent on this team, and they got some cap space, and they're going to put some pieces around Wemby. I feel like they're going to be very aggressive this offseason. I don't think they're going to try to play back this year just to see what Wemby could do. I really think they're going to really try to at least be not just in the play-in, but creep in and get in the playoffs. You never know what could happen.
Yeah. Wemby's like that, bro. I went out there to go watch him in March. I went out there for my birthday, go see a friend in London. Then we had traveled to Paris, and I caught a game. Shout out Steve. Oh, you fat? Got me some tickets for free. That was dope, man. Talked to him through Instagram. He got me some tickets to the game. Yeah, Wemby's like that, bro. I believe when I went to go watch them, they were playing. I think it was Lions. They were like 6th in the league. I think there's like a total of 12 teams. They were like 6th in the league, so middle of the barrel. I think at this point, Mets 92, they were 2nd. So like obviously they're up there with them and best in the league. Game's going by first half. It's just like Wemby's there. He's just, kind of trying to feel out the game, not trying too hard, just going through the motions really. And so keep in mind, they probably think this team is really bad to them because they're 2nd and the other team's 6th. Like, you can't mess with us. But it's a close game. It's like third quarter. Wemby sees what the score is. And I think Lions is up by like 4. And at this point, it's like third quarter, Wemby had 6 points. Game ends, he had 30. Like, he can turn it on when he wants to. He blocking stuff off the backboard, grabbing the rebound, taking it full court, laying it up. They're setting pin downs for him. He's sitting in the corner, and they're setting pin downs for him to come off his threes. So I think he's really a generational talent. And then when you look at him, his build is like similar to like Giannis, but 7'5", right? So it's not like
Giannis never had a perimeter game either.
No. Yeah, and that's what's scary, bro. Because it's not like somebody who is 7'5" and like sometimes they're kind of just like, you know what I'm saying, there's some dysmorphia is going on. Mm-hmm. Like, no, you can tell this is just a 19-year-old kid who's like doesn't do the weight room stuff yet. And obviously, like you were saying, Nick, like he may think, oh, I'm not worried about gaining weight or nothing like that. First couple of years gonna humble you, and he's gonna be in the weight. So I just think like he in that frame can fill out. He's just a kid. It's not like he has anything wrong with him. He's just a kid. He's just skinny, probably not eating the right nutrients. He come to America eating 4 or 5 meals a day. He'd be all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's talented, man. I think the LeBron stuff is unfair. Um, because when LeBron was coming into the league, that was unfair to him. He just happened to live up to it. So like everybody's mad and everything,
Facts.
like, oh, they're comparing him to
Yeah.
LeBron. Well, the old heads was mad that they was comparing LeBron to Jordan.
That's true. That's true.
So
No, what?
so it's just like
That's very true.
No, it's facts, and especially with Wemby, real quick too. I was actually watching the highlights when him and Scoot when they played against each other, and that's the thing too. Why Scoot should have went too. I mean, if you watch the highlights, those two put on an absolute show. I mean, the first half it was like Scoot was just going out there killing, and Wemby's team they were down by like 15 plus points or something. Then just like KJ says, this man could just turn it on, and they be in transition. He runs to the wing and they'll feed it to him and he just buries 3 after 3. I think he ended up with 8 threes. I think he had about 41 that game, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Wemmy's special, man, and he could shoot the lights out. It's insane what he could do. He could post up. He's got the whole bag.
yeah, man.
No, I hear you guys both, and I definitely agree though, KJ, about the whole, everybody has this kind of like expectation for the next generation and stuff, and I feel like we're never going to stop saying something until somebody proves it. So I know that Zion definitely, like, he was the most talented player in the 2019 draft. And unfortunately, with injuries and stuff, we don't talk about that. We've been talking more about the off the court stuff with him too. So I know that's been a big topic and him staying on the court. So the biggest thing that I was also going to say too was the situation with the body, like him filling out, reminds me also of when Kristaps was he was also a prospect. One of the biggest things that they ripped on him was he was too skinny and he's going to get bodied in the NBA. And I'm not saying that his game is anywhere near Wemby's, but I could see the same problem with the at least the body for the first couple of years until he really starts putting on some weight and stuff. Because I know there's going to be guys, obviously, Giannis, Jokic, LeBron, AD. He's going to have to play those guys multiple times.
Joel Embiid.
Joel, yeah. There's going to be a couple other guys too that I probably didn't name right there that are definitely going to give him troubles. But I mean, he's so damn long too that he's still going to get at least 2 blocks a game. Like that's just how athletic he is. So I have no doubts that he can't live up to everything. But I'm just curious to see what his rookie year is going to look like with San Antonio, because like you said, Nick, it could go one of 2 ways. I mean, they could try to compete this year, get a play-in, maybe a playoff spot, sneak in, or you see what you have with Wemby, you continue to build, maybe pick up a piece this offseason, because I know that they've been in talks of trying to get somebody with that cap space. Or you can, again, see what you get in the draft next year too. So I think there's 2 options with that one. But I think San Antonio's in the perfect position. I mean, they're a smart run organization and they literally just got another gem. So I have no doubts about that. But
always get that generation big, man. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. Like the last 3 generational bigs, like how are they continuing to get this lucky, man?
And what's interesting too, the last 2, I think, rookies were like all NBA or whatever, were the number 1 picks that San Antonio had. That went number 1. We're all NBA with David Robinson and Tim Duncan. I think there was something like that I was reading not too long ago. I think so.
Right, man. Yeah, just generational big. They always get it.
I don't know, man. It's something's going on with San Antonio. I mean, I don't know. But to kind of move forward too from the draft, I think we've been seeing a lot of crazy news, trades, rumors, everything that's been going on. Chris Paul is now a Warrior. This guy was literally was fake laughing to Steve Kerr not just 5 years ago. So the fact that now he's teammates with Steph, Clay. If Draymond resigns, I think that's a very high possibility. How do we feel about that trade? Because I feel indifferent about it. I could see it going one of 2 ways. I think it could either be very beneficial for them, or this could totally hurt them because of his age. The age is like the biggest thing that I have for him. I have no doubts that he can't play still. My only concern is that his injury history, especially the last 5 to 6 years, has just kind of been the key story that we've always been talking about with him. So, KJ, since you're our guys, I'll let you go first. What do you feel about the trade?
It's an interesting one. Chris Paul to the Warriors, man. I think it's good for their second unit. It also gives a different look. The small backcourt, but it gives a different look with Chris Paul and Steph Curry on the court. You're able to play Steph Curry more off ball. And you lose a little bit. You don't really though, because Chris Paul can score, man, when he wants to. But Jordan Poole is just more of a volume scorer. Because when Jordan Poole and Steph are on the floor, you kind of see Jordan Poole more handling the ball. I think it's better with Chris Paul. He facilitates the rock better. It might still work out in Chris Paul's favor in terms of spacing. So he'll still have a lot of freedom mid range. We'll see if he even takes those this season. He might be too caught up in trying to do the facilitation. I'm curious to see how that works with him and Draymond.
That's
Draymond
the key, I
needs,
think.
Draymond needs everything inside the 3-point line. Chris Paul needs everything inside the three. You can't have Chris Paul on the outside just spotting up for threes or dribbling off the ball and shooting threes. Like, you need Chris Paul in that area, which is why it worked for the Suns, because you can move everybody out, let Chris Paul do his thing at the high post, and then he'll kick it out. He'll get a mid range. It's damn near automatic. But with Draymond, you can't do that with him. So what I mean is obviously we have to see what Draymond does, but yeah, man, I think it's good. Jordan Poole's new start. The thing that's good for him. We'll see how that goes with the Wizards, the young core now. We'll see what they do. But
him and Tyus Jones, man, they're new
right.
backcourt. So
right, it's a young backcourt. And Tyus Jones, man, I love him as a point guard, dude.
So underrated.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, 100%, man.
So underrated.
100%. His turnover ratio was like crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he went to Duke. That's my guy. Even though KJ, that's a different discussion for another day. But
it's cool, bro. They always beat Duke, so I mean, it's fine.
I wouldn't say always.
They always beat Duke, bro.
Come on, that's cap. That's cap. That's cap.
They always beat Duke when it matters.
I remember they did beat them in the Elite Eight with Zion, RJ, and Cam, and all those boys. So they did. They did. All right. Yeah, they went further this year too. Obviously, Duke lost round 32, but it's what it is. But no, on Tyus Jones, man. I mean, he was obviously the best backup point guard in the NBA. He needed the new role. I think Jordan Poole, he's gonna be nice being like that like second scorer now. I mean, Kyle Kuzma's still there, so he's probably the main option. Obviously, they traded Kristaps Porzingis and Bradley Beal. That's another discussion we're probably about to have because it's very interesting. I feel like they could have gotten more for Bradley Beal. Could have gotten more for Kristaps. I just don't understand how Boston ended up with Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks, and they just get rid of Marcus Smart. Can someone explain this one to me? I mean, this makes no sense at all. Brad Stevens is a goat. He's just goated for that. I mean, that's wild. Bro. But I think Marcus Smart, though, is going to be – that's something that Memphis needed. I think because Memphis is going to get rid of Dylan Brooks, and I think Marcus Smart is going to really help out Ja in a lot of areas. But it's been very interesting so far.
Honestly, man, I don't know what it is with Boston, but Danny Ainge must have told Brad Stevens something like about like trading, because it just seems that Boston, again, just somehow finesses every team in the league when they do a trade. And I think the funniest fact is they got 2 first-round picks. The Wizards don't get a first-round pick in this. How is that possible? You literally gave the best player in the trade too, which was, to me, I just didn't understand that, like how that happened.
Hey, bro, Brad's over there making trades in a shiesty mask and black gloves. I don't know how he's doing it.
Especially the year Kristaps just had too. I mean, this was one of his. I think this was his best year in his career. I think. I mean, he played 65 games. I think he averaged about 23 and 8.
It was his best year defensively by far.
That too. And when he's healthy, obviously, I mean, Boston, they needed a guy that Tatum and Brown could play 2-man action with. I think that was that was one of their biggest problems. I mean, obviously they don't have like a true point guard, and they still really don't have a true point guard. Derek White's a really good player, but he's not like that facilitating point guard. But Kristaps Porzingis, man, you could do pick and roll with them, pick a pop with them. Like Tatum and Brown, because they play the same style. So they need a big, like Al Horford's old. And Robert Williams, he hasn't played more than 40-some games in the last few years. So that's why they made this move. They needed a big that they could pray that it'll be reliable. Then when he's reliable, I mean, he could shoot the three, he could shoot the mid-range, he could post up. And just like KJ said, this is his best defensive year. When he's fully healthy, man, he can protect the rim at a high level too. Yeah. So Boston got the perfect big if he stays healthy, though.
Yeah. It gives Boston a chance to get rid of all that ISO action. So now it's like, you want to ISO? No, let's just do some two-man action with Kristaps. And that's going to be very dangerous because he can pop, he can roll, he can short roll, he can do it all off the screens. So I think that was great for them, man. That's going to be real interesting to see what their offense is like next year. I'm excited.
Definitely. And I know something else too with Al Horford getting older. And I know that they don't like to play Robert Williams down in crunch time because he's just not an offensive factor on the floor too. You having also a shot like a rim defender, but also a guy that can knock down the three and he can get his when he needs to. I think that was definitely big. But Nick, like you said, I still think the biggest thing that we've talked about is that Boston needs a point guard, like a true point guard, because that is the one position they have lacked. If they had that point guard, we could be talking a lot more about Boston even last year, because I think that's one of the biggest key things that they have you just see it time and time again. Marcus Smart, great player. I don't doubt that, his skill set and everything else he brought to Boston, but he's not a true point guard. No matter how you want to put at it, he cannot run an offense like Chris Paul, like a Steph Curry. And that's just kind of like how I see it. But we'll see what Boston does in free agency in the offseason, because Brad Stevens is probably going to make another move. I don't see that this was his only move. And I know that we definitely already talked about with Washington trading Kristaps, the Bradley Beal trade. I think that really just started the offseason. Bradley Beal getting traded to Phoenix for Landry Shamet, Chris Paul, 6 second-round picks, and then 4 pick swaps for first-round picks. So that means that Phoenix doesn't have their own first-round pick until 2031. So guys, gotta ask, do you feel that Phoenix, just kind of gave them like a bag of chips still, like even with all those draft picks?
That's a lot of picks though, man. I mean, you just said it. I mean, 2031, this is 2023. You know what I'm saying? That is, I mean, they didn't give up like much talent, like Landry Shamet, Chris Paul is getting older, but like that is a lot of picks, man. Bradley Beal the last few years hasn't really been healthy either. Not questioning his talent. Last year when he was like fully healthy, that man averaged 30. I mean, Bradley Beal can ball. And for him to be your third option, and here's the thing with Bradley Beal too, I think it's actually, the pairing's actually going to work really well because Bradley Beal could play off ball. And he played off ball pretty well with John Wall when John Wall was at his best. And I think Devin Booker this postseason showed that he could, be a point guard. I mean, he's not going to be like a floor general god, but he could at least bring up the ball and orchestrate offense and stuff. Like Kevin Durant is always known to not needing the ball so much to get into a flow. So I think the three is going to work pretty well, but it's just like, how's the rest of your roster going to look? And how is DeAndre Ayton going to get involved? Because that's the one thing with DeAndre Ayton, like when we talked about when they was playing Denver in the playoffs, like just like you said, Alex, he averaged 1 free throw in the entire series. Didn't have one single game with 10 or more rebounds when you're the big man and you're going to struggle in the paint. I think DeAndre Ayton, when he doesn't get his touches, he just doesn't want to play the game of basketball. Doesn't want to play defense or anything because he feels like the only way he can get himself going is offensively. How are you going to get yourself going offensively when these three are going to be taking 70% of the team shots, knowing that besides DeAndre Ayton, who else is going to be on this team? We don't really know.
Yeah. For Washington, I think it was good for them. I understand the whole bag of chips thing, but I feel Washington, you're not winning with Bradley Beal. I mean, it's not like I'm saying that spitefully. It's a fact. It's a body of work. You don't win with Bradley Beal. So he wants to go. You get rid of him. You take him to Phoenix because Phoenix is like, yo, we'll give you all these picks. And at this point with Washington, you got to think they have a young team, and now they have, whether they do well or bad, they have all these chances to draft right.
True.
You could possibly draft right every pick. Maybe you get 3 of them. You get 3 of them. You got 3 superstars plus what you have already. I think them doing that is smart for them. For Phoenix, I see what you're saying. With Devin Booker playing the point, but hear me on this, bro. This is my crazy take. I think this goes Kevin Durant the one. I think
Okay.
Kevin Durant's gonna be the one. His MVP year, he practically had to play point guard because Russell was out.
That is true.
So
2014 when KD won the MVP.
I think KD takes it upon himself to be the facilitator. I think obviously Devin Booker's gonna be listed at the point and he's gonna be doing a lot of the ball handling, but I think every time Kevin Durant gets the ball, he's gonna be like, how am I going to get Bradley the ball? How am I gonna get Devin the ball? Devin's gonna be like, okay, let me run this offense real quick. Maybe my shot's here. Well, trying to think the game for real. Kevin Durant's gonna be, how do I get these 2 dudes that I really love hooping with? How am I going to get them the ball? I think that's gonna turn into Kevin Durant playing the point. And I just still don't think that's enough.
I agree.
Like you said, Nick, Ayton doesn't show up. I don't support gambling, but hey, if you use FanDuel, go for the DeAndre Ayton under on rebounds. It's a lock. That man cannot rebound the ball, dude.
You can't really defend either.
Yeah, and I've always had an issue with players where your motor is tied to your touches. And that's with him. He not touching the ball. He don't want to try. And I think you need a defense like Kevin Durant plays D. Devin Booker can play it very well. Bradley Beal doesn't like to, but I think he could if he wanted to. But you need a rim protector, and DeAndre Ayton's not that if he's not scoring. But bro, if you have 3 generational scorers, you don't need to score. Catch these lobs, screen and roll, get to the free throw line, which you don't want to do. Rebound the ball. That's all we need from you. We understand you're this super high draft pick and you want to be this and that. But sometimes you got to fall back into your role. And I don't think he wants to do that. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue for them. And I think it's going to hinder them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Phoenix should get rid of DeAndre and get what they can from him. Get a couple role players that they believe that could mesh with, the 3. But
like you said, their bench is going to be scarce. All this money, bro, with the new cap, it's over with.
Yeah, especially if they keep Aiden, just like you said, like 4 of those players are combining to take 162 million.
It's
insane.
It's nuts. It's insane. And yeah, the CBA is going to be crazy too, because now like it's really just penalizing teams that stock up on superstars and like star players, where you're just really not going to be able to do that. And if you want that, then you're going to be sending everybody else to a vet min. So I know that they've been talking about Stanley Johnson, Jabari Parker coming out for workouts to, possibly get a roster spot, because that's what you're going to be left with. I think Aiden should be traded.
You said Joe Johnson?
No, not Joe Johnson.
Stanley Johnson.
Stanley Johnson.
Oh, I thought it was Joe Johnson. I was like,
I saw
way.
Joe.
No, Joe comes back.
Big 3 killer.
He is a big 3 killer, dude.
And he actually he started in Phoenix too, right? Like I could swear I know he played early in his career in Phoenix. Yeah. I don't remember if he was drafted by them, but
I'll still never forget when he did that crossover on Paul Pierce with the low dribble. That was hilarious. Oh man.
I ain't never seen nobody fall forward in slow motion like that.
No, but just like you guys said, like with Phoenix, like, I mean, they got a big 3. I mean, if they stay healthy, obviously, I mean, it's insane. But DeAndre Ayton is the key. And if I was the Phoenix front office, man, they should have let him walk to Indiana.
Yeah.
Or could have done a sign and trade. Could have brought in Miles Turner, which would be a much better fit for this team than DeAndre Ayton. Miles Turner could shoot the 3, doesn't really need the ball that much, and he could protect the rim. I like Miles Turner.
I was gonna say. Miles Turner and Buddy Hield keep being in a trade talk. So I don't know if Indiana wants to, pick up the phone and see about that. I mean, that would still be better. But I think that the biggest problem that they're going to have still, if they decide to keep Aiden, is if one of the 3 go down of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. It's going to be the same conversation. They don't have enough to win. And especially if it's Kevin Durant, we're not even going to have that conversation then, because he's going to be the focal point. Obviously, like him and Devin Booker had to shoot like absurd from the field. Like they were shooting 80% from the field just to beat Denver. And I just don't see in any world where they're not fully healthy, where they're going to be able to make it in a deep run, especially with the lack of size that they're also going to still have. I think one of the biggest things that they need to be looking for, at least, is if they don't find a trade partner for DeAndre Ayton and they do just continue to just keep him, surrounding them with enough guys that can play defense, knock down the three, and that are willing to, step up, because that's going to be one of the issues I could see is just Kevin Durant with his legs the last couple of years too. He's been another guy where it's just like injury upon injury. I mean, it was an accident, but he missed almost all of his time in Phoenix because they didn't wipe the floor down. So stuff like that just keeps happening. But actually, guys, real quick before we continue this conversation, we're going to take a real quick break and we will be right back. All right, welcome back, guys. So we were talking just right before we took a break about the Bradley Beal trade to Phoenix, our reactions to that, how we're thinking about it. And to kind of move forward from that conversation itself, I think that there's been a lot of rumors, as something that we were talking about before the podcast today, but how, about Damian Lillard's future with the Blazers, will he or won't he? And obviously his list of demands or what he wants. So, guys, do you think that they should build for the future? I think they should build for the future, but that's me. Because if they're gonna try and compete with Dame, I don't think these pieces are gonna help them get to that point of where they need to be at. So, KJ, what are you thinking?
They need to get rid of Dame, dude. I feel like Dame is stuck in this perpetual cycle of trying to prove he's, I don't want to say not everybody else, because other people act like Dame as well, but he wants to try to be this loyal soldier who's willing to die and fall on the sword and this and that. But at this point, he's made his personality who he is as a player, and it's gotten him nowhere. For Portland, for their own good, needs to get rid of him. I think after what's been going on as of recent, it's Portland should see it as a slap in the face in terms of Dame talking about, I just want to see what they do in the offseason. So what if they do everything the best they can do in the offseason to accommodate you and you want to go? Because that's a reality that could happen. So I think either he wants to stay or he doesn't. This whole, I want to see what moves you make, it's a disrespect to the organization. And Portland just needs to get rid of him, start fresh. Don't get Draymond because Damian Lillard wants him. Do not get Jeremy Grant back because Damian Lillard wants him. That's not enough to win. Dame can have whatever he wants. Those two people he wants will not help him win games. Enough games. They're going to win more games than what they've won, but
Of course,
it's not going to help them win enough games. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, I think Portland needs to get rid of him.
Yeah, and piggybacking off what KJ just said too about like offseason players that Dame kind of wants, but obviously there's reports that Dame was frustrated that Portland made the selection too. On top of that, like they probably were listening to a lot of calls. A lot of people wanted Scoot, and they realized that Scoot was going to fall to number 3, but they're not going to just make a move just because of what Damian Lillard wants. If there's not a trade that they don't think they're going to get the right value for, I'm sorry. They're just not going to make the trade to make one player happy. Obviously, yes, Damian Lillard's their franchise player. He's been their franchise centerpiece for a long time, and I get that. But it's like you said, KJ, like Portland's one of those locations too. It's very hard to acquire talent in the market. That's why, like with Toronto and stuff, look at all the talent that they had. As soon as they had the opportunity to jump ship, they did. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Chris Bosh, list goes on. And obviously, and it's crazy that out of all the players that got dealt was the one that wanted to stay in Toronto, which was DeMar DeRozan. But guess what? When you got a GM like Nasani Ujiri is ready to roll the dice for 1 year, got Kawhi Leonard, won a championship, you don't have that in Portland. They don't have that luxury. Plus, they don't have that much talent. Besides the number 3 pick, they really didn't have much to be able to go out and get like a Pascal Siakam, or there's a lot of names like a Paul George or something like that. Now they're saying they might want to break the tandem up and stuff, but besides the third pick, and maybe Simons is a good young player too. I'll throw him in there too. There's no way you're going to get a star level player just with those two alone to be able to pair with Dame. It's just not going to happen.
No. I mean, I would just say too, like the biggest thing with the Blazers the last couple of seasons is just I don't know what direction they want to go in, because they get these pieces like Norman Powell, Robert Covington 2 years ago, trade them for not a lot, to be honest. So it was Eric Bledsoe and a couple other like filler pieces that they ended up shipping out as well. And then obviously last year we saw they picked up Gary Payton. They got Josh Hart. And then they also had somebody else that they shipped out, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, and then they trade all of them away at the deadline for Cam Reddish. And Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles was the other guy that they had, but he never played for Portland. I don't think he even played a game for them. So I just feel like for Portland, I just don't know what direction that like they want to go sometimes, because of just like they make these moves that they think are going to marginally help Dame win games, and then they also then go back and then look like they're going to try and rebuild. And I respect Dame for staying, but it's almost kind of like the boy who cried wolf. It's like you've had multiple opportunities. If you really wanted to leave, you could have told them, hey, trade me. Like, I'm not happy. We see it all the time with players now. If they want out, they're going to let you know, hey, I'm done. I've given it my all here. I don't want to be here anymore. Dame could easily say that, and there was going to be a lot of teams that are going to pick up the phone and say, hey, what do you want for him? Because that's really what it needs to be. Because otherwise, like, people are going to stop feeling bad for Dame. It's not going to be the whole like, oh my God, Dame's never going to win. It's more like Dame chose to not win. Like, I think that's what we'll end up starting to like really talk about when his career's done, if he continues to stay. So that's just my thing with that. But you guys, I mean, like, anything else you guys think with like Dame and the situation, like where should he go? If he's going to get traded, where's the spot he should go?
Well, I know a lot of people
Obviously,
mention Miami. Oh, my bad, KJ. You want to go ahead?
No, yeah, go ahead. I guess my answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been talking about Miami. Obviously, he has never had a coach like Eric Spoelstra. He's very tight with Jimmy Butler. And, Bam, I think those pick and rolls would be nice too with Bam, even though he's not really a perimeter guy. But Damian Lillard's never really had that pick and roll kind of player that he needed, except for in the beginning of his career with LaMarcus Aldridge. But besides that, he's really has not had that pick and roll kind of player that he needs in Portland. A lot of his shots are going to be ISO shots, because anytime he gets a pick, I mean, they're going to overhedge and he's going to get doubled every time. And obviously not playing with a lot of talent with Miami, that won't happen as much because they got to worry about, because Miami's got a lot of talent, man. Tyler Hero's going to be coming back. I think that's something that they forgot. And look how far they went. They made it all the way to the finals without Tyler Hero. And then obviously Victor Oladipo got hurt too. He was a big piece in the beginning, especially in that series against Milwaukee and stuff. But I know a lot of people are going to say Miami, but if I was Dame, I would want to pair up with Giannis to go to Milwaukee. I think that'd be nasty. They're going to get rid of Chris Middleton. There's going to be some cap. I don't know how much cap they're going to have, but I think that tandem, I in a small market city, I think Dame would really like that. I think he should go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think that was a good point you made just now about small market. I feel like Dame likes that. It's quiet, chill to himself. Obviously Miami's not that, but I still do think Miami is the best option, because like if you just break it down, skin and bones, what do you want here in Portland, Dame? I want Draymond, Jeremy Grant. Okay. Uh, Jeremy Grant is a wash, bro. I'm sorry, but he's not making a difference on any team he plays for. But you want Draymond, why not just go to Miami where they have Bam, who plays like Draymond, just better offense, maybe not as talented passing wise, but that's only because of the system that the Warriors play. He knows exactly where Steph's going to be and where Clay's going to be, and that's just chemistry, blah, blah, blah. But Bam's their point guard. So if you want Draymond, go to Miami with a better team and their own Draymond. I just feel like Miami's the best option for him. And then I don't know, man, just something about seeing Damian Lillard in a Heat jersey and Portland half court makes me excited.
No, I mean, Miami
I
is the best option, but I was just because since everyone's been talking about Miami so much with Dame, I think Milwaukee could seriously be another option for him. Can seriously be another option for him.
I agree with you, Nick. And I think I agree with both y'all. Like, I think that Miami would be the best spot, but Nick, to just get your Milwaukee point though, I mean, I think that Miami would still be able to throw a better package, like overall,
100%,
than like what Milwaukee could. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that if Portland was going to take an offer, I think they would go with Miami. But I know that they're not high on Tyler Hero, which is probably going to be their centerpiece of the package that they would want to give because they don't want to break up, obviously, Jimmy and Bam. So those two are like the untouchables. And I know that obviously Portland's going to want to try and take as much as they can for Dame, because I mean, look at what the trade market was last year. You know, I mean, guys that got traded were getting traded for. I mean, I'm sorry, I know I've talked about Rudy Gobert like 10 times in this podcast, but he got traded for like half a team and multiple draft picks. So Portland's going to want something like that. So that's what they expect to get, and I don't think any team's going to give that if they want to also be, you know, still be able to compete. So Miami would have to find a way to package that where it's incentivized for Portland, but also helps them still keep their core intact, at least Jimmy and Bam. So we'll see what happens with that, because I'd love to see it too, but I just don't know what's going to happen with him. And I know with, you know, free agency starting on Friday, got to ask both of you guys, you know, what's your biggest, like, what would be your sneakiest, like, free agency signing, like something that we're not seeing or talking about right now?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I know one prediction I had on the last podcast episode we talked about, Alex, was Fred VanVleet going to Philly, and then James Harden was going to go somewhere else. But that's not, I mean, Fred VanVleet's a good player, but talk about like a sneaky move. You're talking about something like what Denver just kind of did with their team the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Getting like Bruce
something
Brown,
we're not,
getting like Jeff Green, trading for Eric Gordon. You're talking about something like that, and that's kind of hard to oof.
So good question. Geez. I think I don't know, but it's still being talked about. But wherever Austin Reeves goes, if the Lakers keep him, match any offers, or if he goes anywhere, I think they're getting a stud. I think he should go somewhere else. I know the Lakers probably want to keep him locked up, but I think he goes anywhere else who's willing to pay him the money to go there. They're going to give him more touches.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to just blossom.
Yeah, no, we definitely saw him like second half of the season in the playoffs. Like he showed that he has the ability to be a main guy in your offense. Like that's not up for debate. I don't want to get like talk shows into this either, but you know, like I think it was Colin Cowherd that was trying to compare that, like, oh, Mac McClung and Austin Reeves are the same. It's like, dude, if you're just looking straight at the stats, like, sure, the stats look similar, but let's not ignore what Austin Reeves was literally doing in the playoffs. Literally against Memphis in one of his first games ever in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was game one. He took over the fourth quarter of that game. Game one.
We can't sit here and ignore like Austin Reeves can't do anything. So I'm just gonna say that.
Another big thing, I think, wherever Tobias Harris lands, count them out.
You don't want to crumble cookie, bro?
Out. Yeah, count
KJ, we
out.
was talking about this earlier. Oh my god,
bro!
So
I used to defend Tobias Harris with every bone in my body, and now he's disappointed me so many times. But whoever gets that man, count him out.
He is the weakest 18-point game scored this game might have ever seen.
No, yeah, it's an embarrassment.
You don't even know that he scored 18 points. You watch a whole game, you look at the box, you're like, wait, he really had 21? It's always the quietest points you've ever seen.
I agree.
Except for with the Clippers, he was actually really, really good. And obviously, that's when Philly was going all in when they acquired both Tobias and Jimmy, you know, and they decided to pay Tobias and keep Ben Simmons and let Jimmy walk out the door.
Philly's biggest mistake, bro. They really botched.
That's why I was telling you, Alex, a couple podcast episodes ago. I said if Jimmy was on that Philly team right now, they had him, Maxine, Joel Embiid, they would have been in the finals.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Are you got like? Is there? I gotta ask too, because like Draymond's been like the biggest focal point. Do you think he's gonna resign with Golden State, or do you think he could actually leave? Because I could see it going both ways. I don't know what it is, but just to me, there's like this feeling that he's going to leave, even though it just seems like everything would point to he's going to resign. They got rid of Jordan Poole and they have the money to sub resign him, but still just feels like he's going to leave. I don't know why.
Nah, I think Draymond stays. I think obviously getting rid of Jordan Poole was I don't want to call him a pariah. He's not definitely not a pariah, but it was a lot of locker room stuff going on because of him. He got his money. People thought he was being braggadocious and got punched on by Draymond. And that caused a whole little rift, I think. But the biggest thing is they paid him all that money. So now you get rid of that contract. And with like we're talking about the new CBA, like it kind of lowers them. They'll still be over the first apron, but that's not once you get over that second apron of this new CBA, it's a death sentence. Either you're winning that year or you're not winning for the next 3 years. It's like really, really bad. You can't do sign in trades. You can't even acquire players from in the middle of the season. It's god awful. And it keeps the Warriors away from that. So then you can pay Draymond, maybe ask him to take a little less, but still give him a lot, and you can still pay Clay because Clay's the next up. So I think getting rid of that Jordan Poole contract, you get Chris Paul, who's like, I don't want to say halfway out the door, but his contract's coming up, and then he's not going to be getting as much money, bro, because it's just how he performed the last couple of years. I think that Draymond comes back.
Yeah, I agree. And Draymond did mention like he's like, I deserve $100 million. I think he could definitely get that with Golden State. What if it might even just be 4 years, $100 million, get $25 million a year?
Yeah.
That's
very
not too
reasonable,
bad.
very, very reasonable for Draymond. I think he deserves it. I mean, look at his body of work. He's not really like the offensive scorer, obviously, but he's like the point guard of the team pretty much. Steph brings up the ball most part, but Draymond like can orchestrate an offense. And you've seen it in his career, and obviously one of the best on-ball defenders this game has ever seen. I mean, especially in this generation, and I think he's still got some in the tank. I mean, he's not, like I said, he's not an offensive scorer or anything, but he can impact the game in a lot of different areas that the box score doesn't really show. And that's why Draymond Green deserves one more bag before he retires.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely 100%. And then also too, KJ, I know you're talking about like the CBA aprons too. I think if they like go over it, they don't even get the mid-level exception. So like the thing that they were able to sign DiVincenzo to, like they're not going to have that. So
they do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That CBA that's a monster, bro. CJ McCollum messed that.
He doesn't want people to get paid. Like,
yeah, he was just hating on super teams because he wasn't on one. And then he just messed that up.
He had too many flashbacks of the
Well, they got
Warriors.
swept by a super team when they were in the conference finals.
Yeah, he had that flashback. He was like, yeah, I don't want to see that ever again.
Yeah, man. That second apron is nasty.
No, that's going to also, you're going to really see, because I know that like after like the big three and stuff that happened in Miami and stuff, and it always seems like the NBA has been trying to find a way to like not allow this to keep happening. Now you're going to really see how our team's going to do this, because we just saw John Collins get dumped for like Rudy Gay. So
yeah, surprised me. My jaw dropped. So yeah,
I mean, I'm not surprised that they got rid of John Collins just because he's been like rumored for years now. I mean, for at least
they got back is
that's what's crazy. Like I was like, wait, that's all they got? Was it a Rudy Gay like a second round pick?
Something like
I thought Rudy Gay retired, bro.
Rudy Gay's just been hiding in Utah, bro, for the last year.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be. And Alex, and obviously, like when we saw that trade go down, you texted me right away, and you was like, "Dude, they're front court heavy in Utah. Is he even gonna stay?"
That's what I'm thinking too, man. They got Laurie and Walker Kessler. Like, I don't see where John Collins is really fitting in with that, but I don't know.
Point.
It's very interesting. And Atlanta's another very interesting team too, because DeJounte Murray, they traded like 3 firsts just to get him the past offseason, and now they're thinking about dumping him. You look at Cleveland now, think about dumping Darius Garland. You just put him and Donovan Mitchell together. It's like a lot of teams, man, they don't want to follow the Denver Nuggets playbook. They don't want to. A lot of franchises are just not patient anymore, man. Just like we talked about in our last podcast episode about the Nuggets, man. Murray went through injuries. Michael Porter went through injuries. Mike Malone and this staff, they believed if those three could be healthy and you could put a good supporting cast around them, you could win a championship. And, a lot of front offices, man, they just ain't patient no more, man. It's crazy.
No.
Just like Boston, everyone's like, dude, you gotta get rid of Jaylen Brown. You gotta get rid of Jaylen Brown. You gotta get rid of Jaylen Brown. But it's kind of hard to get rid of Jaylen Brown when they're both like under 27 years old and they're both going to be all NBA talent for years to come. Like, how do you just break that up? You got to get a point guard. Like, you got to surround them with players. You can't just dump your best players just because it didn't work out. That's what some of these front offices just don't make any sense to me at all. They just don't.
So it's a win now mentality. It's just like we're saying, because all these trades, making these super teams, and I think like the Kawhi trade was the only exception in terms of like trades that didn't create a super team and the win now mentality like worked out. But yeah, man, it's just not a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. That Kevin Durant trade was an anomaly. And since then, there hasn't really been any trades like that to create a super. I mean, Kevin Durant and Kyrie to Jesus Christ, Brooklyn would trade for
James Harden.
Harden.
Yeah.
But those are anomalies because Harden forced his way out.
Mm-hmm.
KD was seduced by Draymond. Like, yeah, man, I don't know, dude.
You know, it's kind of funny too that like for Atlanta, for example, the whole reason that they traded for DeJounte was because the owner's son liked DeJounte Murray. Like, I don't get it. You had like a solid, deep team. Like, they had to get rid of Gallinari because of that. They also had to get rid of Kevin Huerter just to do salary dump, just so they could be able to take on DeJounte Murray. And look, DeJounte Murray's a bucket. I don't deny that he's a great player. I just don't see like this trade just did not help them at all for their future. Like, this is like kind of like this was a win now move that made no sense because it didn't put them into like that like top 4 in the East at all. Like, they were a team that made the playoffs. They had to play in the play-in games. I know that they took 2 from Boston, but I just don't get it. And Nick, to your point too, with like teams don't want to be like Denver anymore. I honestly think that like Denver, and then the only other team that I can think of is like San Antonio that like builds like just through like drafting and like growing and then obviously also Golden State.
Well,
outside of KD, you know, their team was built through the draft and growing their players, because obviously like that's the way that you've seen teams have won multiple championships doing that. So I don't know. It just feels like yeah.
I'll even give kudos to Milwaukee. They may not have drafted some. I mean, besides Giannis, but they may not have drafted their best players. But they traded for him early on some sneaky trade that probably went under the radar, wasn't too talked about, and then grew those players.
That's true.
I'll give them that. So I'll throw Milwaukee in there as well.
That's a good one because they traded for Chris Middleton from Detroit, and it was like nothing huge either.
Who was that? Yeah.
No, back in
was.
Yeah. So, and look at that. That's your core right there. And then obviously bringing in Brook Lopez for like a vet min. I mean, nobody's talking about that.
Lakers didn't sign him. They could have just signed him for $3-something million. They didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's what Magic Johnson talks about a lot. He goes, that was the biggest mistake when I was running the team. Did not re-sign Brook Lopez, that contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the reality though with the NBA. I think it's just kind of like everything continues to change. We'll see what the next 5 years brings. Obviously with the new CBA and stuff, we don't, how our team's going to be able to build, be competitive, keep their teams intact. Because I mean, like we just saw Vooch take a huge pay cut, obviously, to sign a hometown discount, 3 years, $62 million. You don't really see that from like a top 3 player anymore on your team. So I don't know. What do you guys think though? Like for like Houston, I know Houston's going to be a big team that's going to have a lot of cap space. They've been linked to like 10 to 15. They basically been linked to like every free agent. Like they're just going to try and sign anybody at this point, bro. Bring Dylan Brooks in. He can come. You guys can sign James Harden again. Maybe he'll put the fat suit back on to get out once he's done with them. So who knows? But what do you guys think? Who do you think Houston's going to get? Because they're going to get somebody. Because there's no way, bro. There's no way. They're not going to sign anybody.
No, they're definitely going to get some pieces. It's just, I think I don't know. It's going to be very interesting because I don't know if it's going to be just like Houston, but like who's going to overpay for Chris Middleton? Because I think he's going to be gone from Milwaukee. I think it actually benefits Milwaukee now. I don't think Chris Middleton's the same player. He's getting older. He's had some injuries and stuff. I think they let him walk. Houston might be a team that will overpay for him just because they have the salary space and they want to sign some, veteran players to teach these young guys how to win. I mean, they got a lot of young talent. Now they just got to bring some veterans in to show these young guys how to win some games. So he might be going to Houston, or Houston gives Austin Reeves a bag that the Lakers there's no way they're going to be able to pay him what Houston's offering.
Yeah.
So no, Houston's going to definitely sign a couple players. It's just a matter of who. And obviously, just like you said, Alex, like they're rumored to sign 27 free agents this offseason. Just as a matter of who they're getting.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the best route for Houston is trying to find a 3 or a 4. Houston is way too top heavy with guards. Like I understand, like, oh, y'all might want Austin Reeves, linked to Fred VanVleet, but what are you going to do with these guys when you have Kevin Porter Jr., you have Jalen Green, who are
They got to
still,
develop somehow.
Kevin Porter, yeah, exactly. Kevin Porter Jr. knows a lot, but he's still super young. Jalen Green is just now learning the game for real. So I don't like the idea of all these guards being Dylan Brooks should not be an option. That man, I mean, he can play ball, but he needs to be playing ball in Europe or something. But that's just how I feel about him. But I think they need to go to route. I did not think about Chris Middleton. I think that's a really good idea. Just because, like you're saying, bro, he's a vet. He's on a decline a little bit. He's getting older, but they don't need him to be Chris Middleton 2 years ago. They need him to be a vet, teach these kids how to act right in Houston. Give us 26 when you can. If not, we'll settle for 16. We have Jalen Green, we have Kevin Porter Jr., and we have Alfred Sengun. We'll be fine. And we have Amin Thompson, who showed up in Houston, walked through that locker room in a 3-piece suit. That man is here to be a professional, play ball, win games. You have the guards you need for the future.
And they got a great coach.
Oh yeah.
Great coach. Finna whip them boys right in shape. So I think I like that fact of having a vet around the lines of someone like Chris Middleton under Ime Udoka, that two-headed monster of just keeping these boys on track. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Chris Middleton going to Houston. I could definitely see that. I think they will overpay for him because they're going to get desperate when some of these guys don't sign with them. So it's just going to be one of those situations too. Honestly, it's going to be crazy because I know as soon as like what was it, like the purgatory that like ends for like free agency, once that starts, we already know that there's going to be some guy that's already signed like as soon as it starts, and then that's where the tampering and all that crap comes into play too. Is there any other team that you guys think is going to make a huge offseason, make any like big moves? I know that we've talked about the Blazers, we've talked about Houston, we talked about how Washington and Phoenix, but is there any other team that we're not talking about right now that's going to make some moves this offseason that could be impactful?
I think it's not going to be a crazy big signing, but it might be enough. I think Lakers get Bruce Brown.
That would be really good for them.
Now that's
especially after he cooked them.
Right, exactly. So I think the Lakers do get Bruce Brown.
I like that move. That would definitely help them a lot, especially having another guy there that can score. And he was torching them from 3 too. So like that's something that they definitely need. Nick, do you got any teams that you're thinking of on your radar either?
I brought him up earlier, but I think San Antonio's not known to really acquire free agents, but now that they got Wemby and stuff, they got some really good young talent. And obviously it looks like Greg Popovich is going to be motivated again, just because they got the right pieces and stuff now. And Wemby's going to attract free agents. Even though he hasn't stepped on the NBA floor, he's going to attract people to come play with this man. So I think San Antonio is going to make some moves in the offseason to at least they'll definitely make a plan if he could stay healthy and stuff, depending on the moves they make. They got great young talent. San Antonio is a team that could definitely make things interesting in the West. Like Houston can make interesting. Like there's gonna be these young teams in the West. Oklahoma City's on the come up. They made the play-in last year. Chet Holmgren's gonna be coming back. They're saying he looks really fit this offseason and stuff. So we'll see how Chet Holmgren looks with Oklahoma City. Yeah, those 3 teams. There's gonna be a lot of young teams in the West that are gonna be hungry, man. It's gonna be very interesting.
No, 100%. I'm gonna just put this out here. If the news is true and they're actually gonna let them, like, and Nick, I've already talked to you about this, but I will say the Bulls will make moves only if they're actually able to go over the luxury, because that's the only way they're going to be able to make moves. And then I don't know how you guys feel about like what the best option should be for them with Lonzo, because I feel like it's either there's like 4 options they can do. And I just have a feeling that it's either like they've just kind of already accepted that he's not coming back. I just like with the knees, I just think it's just going to be too tough. But he could either get like medically retired. I think it was like one of the options. They could cut him. They could eat his salary. But I think that that's going to be the biggest thing that I want to see if they're going to do anything to improve the team is how can they get a point guard? What are they going to do with the Lonzo situation? Are they going to trade Zach or DeMar? Because that's the other thing that we keep hearing. So I think that they could have a very noisy offseason if that is true. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to do much. I just think that it's just going to be re-signing all their guys.
Yeah, Alex, I just thought about this. There is one team, and this is a team that you talked about a lot, and you hyped this team up in the offseason, and they exceeded expectations. Even though they did go home in the first round, I think Sacramento, I think Washington's dumping players. Why not try to acquire Kyle Kuzma? It's not going to cost you Keegan Murray because that's who they wanted in the Bradley Beal trade. With Bradley Beal, they were trying to get him to come to Sacramento. That was not going to happen. They were not going to dump Keegan Murray. You ain't going to need to dump Keegan Murray to acquire Kyle Kuzma. And he's younger. He's hungry. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of promise. If you put him in Sacramento with that team, dude, Sacramento can make some noise.
Good, man.
I like that. And I think, guys, this has been a great conversation today. KJ, we appreciate you coming on, talking with us. Always feel welcome to come back onto the podcast. We definitely love having you here. Hopefully next time we have it in a bigger space as well, so we can have you live here. So definitely like to meet you in person and stuff. Nick, I'm just gonna say this right now, bro. I saw the Kirk Cousins comparison that you gave this man, and that shit actually made me like really laugh. Like that was like, I was like,
telling you, bro,
damn.
Nick looks like any white athlete with a short beard and a strong jawline.
Bro, I was playing softball the other day, and someone said I looked like Max Strus, bro. When he was putting up donuts in the finals, not when he was hooping. So that's disrespectful, bro. When he's putting up donuts, bro. People tell me I look like this man. He's playing horrible.
Nick, can I get a you like that just one time?
Yeah.
You like that?
Dude, I got another one for you, bro. Jimmy Fredette. You look like Jimmy Fredette.
I got the JJ Redick. I got Kevin Love. I got it's pretty accurate, I think, what KJ says. And
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. I see Jimmer Fredette 100%, bro. I can see that. Yeah, I can see it. I think if you were clean shaven though, like not with the beard, because if you shave the beard, because Jimmer's like clean shaven, I can see it.
I got the Mitch comparison a lot when he was with the Bears.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, twins.
Yeah.
Oh man.
God damn. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
This ends up being a roast fest to me, man. Come on. Man.
No, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to get it like that.
So.
But no, man. I'm
gonna have some names for KJ next time when he gets on this podcast. I'm gonna start roasting him.
I done heard all. I done heard Tupac. I done heard what's Jeff Teague brother? Not Jeff Teague, but his brother.
Marcus Teague.
Marcus. I done got Marcus Teague.
Oh no. Oh no.
I done got a few of them, bro. They ain't gonna be nothing new.
Hey, I Nick, just be grateful, man, because literally, like, I almost got my ID taken away when I was 22. They said, dude, there's no way this is a fake. That shit has happened to me so many times, bro. Like, people are like, you're how old? Like, bro, I swear, I'm gonna get ID'd until like I'm like 35, which I'm okay with, but bro, they're gonna keep calling me the like baby face forever. So You all good. But no, KJ, we definitely again appreciate you having you on. Definitely follow KJ on Twitter. And then I don't know any other social media you're on, but if you wanna tell the people where to follow you on.
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter, King_Ken20, 2 I's in King. Instagram is just King KIINGKEN.
Awesome, man. Yeah, definitely. Make sure to follow KJ. Subscribe to the podcast, and definitely look out for this episode because we definitely want to get this out as free agency starts. So, for Nick and myself and KJ, this is All Ball No Foul. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.